let's look at cholesterol, because the hormones, we did test quite a number of hormones, and that will be a lengthy discussion. So we can look at the lipid panels. So it's after the hormones, I believe. Yes, lipid panel and cardiovascular.
And this one was interesting for me. And this one was interesting for me. So I love that we're talking about this because I'm a health coach and I do pay a lot of attention to my diet. And I don't eat a lot of processed foods. I exercise fairly regularly. And so I'm going to here we go. My cholesterol was elevated. It was 282. My cholesterol is pretty high.
It's very high, yeah.
That's a very high cholesterol.
Yes.
And it's very high cholesterol, especially for somebody who does exercise, regularly, who does pay attention to their diet. I don't drink pop. I don't drink, mostly all I drink is water, to be honest. I'll have a cup of tea in the morning, but I'm not a coffee drinker. So this one was super interesting for me. And we can break this one down. But what was interesting is in my blood lipid panel, my total cholesterol was 282. My HDLs, which are your high density lipids, those are the ones that are what we call your good cholesterol. My good cholesterol was excellent, right? I'm producing, yay, go Steph, right? So I'm producing this, the good cholesterol. My triglycerides were 130. They're a little higher than they needed to be, my triglycerides, but they're still within range. They're not elevated. That nobody's going to flag me, as having elevated triglycerides. So my triglycerides are fantastic. My HDLs are fantastic. And then you look at my LDLs. Those are your low density lipids. My LDLs were, they were 181. That's a really high LDL. So I'm going to let Dr. Geer talk about that for a minute. And then I'm going to tell you guys what I've done in the last 3 weeks to get some more information about my body. So Dr. Geer, that's kind of a funny panel. My A1C is good. My HDLs are good. My triglycerides are good. My vitamin levels are all good. And I have this pretty high LDL cholesterol, low density lipid cholesterol. Any comments about that, except for the fact that it's high, girl? We got to work on that. So let's talk about it.
Right. So your total cholesterol is high, right?
Yes.
So total cholesterol is made up of HDL, your good cholesterol, LDL, your bad cholesterol, as well as your VLDL, which is the very low density cholesterol. So, and we want to look at ratios as well, right? Your ratio of cholesterol to HDL should be between 0 and 4. Yours is 3.76. So, whereas Shannon is 2.3. So she's more in the mean. Yours is on the higher end. Her cholesterol is 202, which is lower than 282. And this was your fasting sample.
Right.
So the fact that, okay, your LDL is high, VLDL, it's on the higher end, okay? The cutoff is 30, yours is 26. So somewhere in your, whether it's genetic or in your diet or both, you are getting some bad cholesterol. Mm-hmm. What we want, we did further testing. So we want to look at your lipoproteins, right? Mm-hmm. So there are 3 lipoproteins that we're looking at. I'm going to talk about lipoprotein A, LPA, little a in parentheses. That's how it's written, but it's lipoprotein A. And so if this lipoprotein is elevated, then it comes from a mutation in the LPA gene. And a person with that mutation is going to have elevated LPA levels, right? You do not have that. Your lipoprotein levels were very low. So, we don't have to worry about that. So that's not where it's coming from. Neither you nor Shannon. Okay. Um, but I'm just going to say one thing here. I would be curious to see, we're going to retest Shannon, in a couple of weeks or so. We want to see how her levels would have changed, and the vitamin D that she's taking and the B vitamins, but in particular the vitamin D, what effect that has on her cholesterol, right? So then we want to look at APO, lipoprotein A1, and lipoprotein B. So A1 makes up your HDL, right? So we want that to be higher. That's your good cholesterol. And yours was right on the borderline. So we need to increase that. And apolipoprotein B, we have to test that. We're yet to test that. So for our next session, we're going to have that result. So we'll be able to see. But go ahead, Stephanie. We're going to say something.
I'm super excited about this because I want to retest as well. Because we just found out my vitamin D is low, so we're going to take some more vitamin D. In response to looking at this blood panel, I've had this in my hands for over a month, even though we're recording today. I have since gone to a functional medicine chiropractor, and it was super interesting what they found. We're not going to get into C-reactive proteins yet because that's a sign of inflammation in the body, which I have.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Yep, I had elevated CRPs.
Yes, but were you able to identify where the inflammation was coming from?
Yeah, well, it's super interesting. Yes, I have a subclinical infection in my small intestines. It's not SIBO. SIBO is small intestines bacteria overgrowth, and there's a test for SIBO, but they found that I have a low-grade infection in my small intestines area, and then my gallbladder is not working optimally. And so that gallbladder plays a role, as you know, in the way that everything functions and goes through there. So we're doing a lot of, they also tested my detox pathways, and this I thought was really interesting. My detox pathways are not working optimally right now. So as the body tries to break down these bad fats, it's not able to, right? It just keeps circulating in my body. And even though my body might try to break them down, these detox pathways are not open. So we're doing stuff to open up these detox pathways, which is super important because, those elevated bad cholesterol, is it toxic, needs to, the body needs to break it down. My liver was showing that it needed some support as well. And as you know, Dr. Geer, the liver is where our body metabolizes fats, and cholesterol is processed through the liver, and things through that. So I'm super excited about this because I was actually excited to find out that my liver was not working optimally. I mean, I know that sounds depressing to other people, but I'm like, an answer. It's about damn time, because I've had elevated cholesterol for so long, and I do live. I practice what I preach. And so I do exercise and I eat well, and, I meditate in the morning and I go for walks at night. I do all the things. And for this to be so high, my liver is really bogged down. And so we're doing some stuff to support the liver. We're doing some stuff to open up those detox pathways. We're doing some stuff to support the gut microbiome and that digestion process. And so I'm really excited. I don't know if we should wait 8 weeks or 12 weeks because I literally just started this 2 weeks ago. And so I don't know how long you think, Dr. Aloma, we should wait before I test again, but I'm super excited to test again and see how this lipid panel changes.
We're going to wait 6 weeks.
Okay.
Although, gut bacteria, you can clear out your gut bacteria in 3 weeks.
Okay.
But what I would like, if you're able to do, we want to see what you are eating.
Yeah.
Because there might be some things in there that we may think that it's good for us, but it may not be. in terms of oils, and fats, and even think whole grains. We have to take a look and see um, what you're eating, because you may think that you're doing something, but there may be some places there where
Oh, absolutely. Well, and what I found so interesting is, go ahead and Shannon weigh in because I want to talk about this eating thing. Shannon, what were you going to say?
I want to know what your numbers were at the top of the first page. I'm going to butcher those names. Albumin, alkaline phosphatase, the ones that go over the liver health. Yeah, the ones that are for the liver health. I'm curious if any of those were also showing any kind of anything.
no.
Interesting.
No, that's why, if those are, which is why you'll hear most people have had this experience, is like, oh, all my blood work came back normal,
Mm-hmm.
but I know I feel this way. I know I have this. That's because that is the most basic blood work you can do, right? Your CMP. If something is not in range there, you're already something is already seriously wrong, right?
Okay.
So, which is why, right? How many times we've heard, "Oh, all my blood work came back normal," but that there is something that you would like to correct, that you're not okay.
Yeah.
So that is why we go deeper, right? We look deeper. We're doing all the micronutrients. We do that, but we have to do the CMP because it is the basic blood work that we need to look at that as well, right? So even the lipid panel, for example, right? Your general lipid panel is not going to look at LPA and all the different lipoproteins, but it does look at quite a bit. It tells you what's tested right away. You could see where there's area for concern.
Yeah. Well, and what I thought was interesting is, working with this physician, my C-reactive proteins were elevated with the test that I did with Longevity Labs, which made so much sense to me because I'm achier than I should be. My fingers, I can't get my wedding ring on. I'm like, come on. I know that there's inflammation in my body because I can't get my wedding ring on. You know how you can tell when you're puffy versus, something else. And so this for me was not sad news. This was validation for me. I'm like, listen, I have been saying for a long time, things aren't right. And so knowing that I had the C-reactive proteins that were elevated, which shows the sign of inflammation in your body, and then to go to this functional medicine physician and learn that they discovered a subclinical, infection in my small intestines, and then some stuff going on in my gut. My gut's just not breaking things down the way that it should. And if you're not breaking things down the way that you should, those particles get released into the bloodstream as toxins, right? If I'm not breaking things down, those undigested food particles, even if it's an avocado, which is very good for you, even if it's a spinach leaf, which is very good for you, even if it's, because you were asking me what I'm eating, Dr. Aloma, it's crazy. I do all organic, pasture raised eggs with avocados. I always have some sort of greens. I do a fiber drink and a greens drink every day. I'm basically grain free. You were talking about whole grains. I've been basically grain free for, I don't know, probably 4 years now. There's the occasional treat.
Yes.
Yeah, there's the occasional treat that I have, but so everything kind of surprises me, right? I do make sure that the carbs that I do eat are naturally grown carbs. I stay away from processed foods. So this is like, whoa, why is my blood panel the way that it is? So finding out that my digestion was very sluggish and I'm not breaking things down just made sense to me. Because like I said, all these healthy foods, your avocados, your apples, your greens, an apple a day keeps the doctor away if your body can break it down. If your body can't break it down and digest it, then it becomes an undigested food particle that floats around the bloodstream and is considered toxic to the body. So these elevated, C-reactive proteins and then the difficulty breaking down fats, lipids, it all just kind of made sense to me, that my liver needed some extra help and my digestion needed some extra help. So I'm super excited to come back in 6 to 8 weeks and be like, okay, did we move the needle and what's it look like? So I'm actually really glad we're doing this. This is kind of fun for me, to take a look at it. So anything else that you want to weigh in on this high lipid panel that I could look at, that I'm not looking at, that I could talk to my functional medicine doctor about, that you might be able to just point me, in a direction that I'm, some other things that I might consider that we haven't looked at yet?
Well, I would just be concerned about foods that are pesticide or fertilizer free.
Okay.
It's very hard to avoid.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And sometimes even foods that are, meat or that are farm raised. If the animal is, grazing outdoors in a pasture all day, and that is great, right? But if at night, when they go into their the enclosure, and if they're given any type of supplement, right, a feed, that's all GMO. That's all right, and then that gets into what then we take. So sometimes it can be tricky to eliminate all of those. But if we get our systems working and we have our cofactors and our vitamins and nutrients, our body will, eliminate it so that there's no buildup. Right. So